Wise, yes, when you hear my voice first and not the sultry velvet voice of David Goss, you know that David Goss is not here. He was busy having his sister's wedding this weekend, so congratulations to her. Congratulations to the newlyweds. Congratulations to whatever company Goss uses to try to make his voice come back. I don't know what he does to soothe his throat. I know it's gone. I don't need to talk to him to know that his voice is gone. You know David Goss is the life of party at a wedding. So don't worry. I have the David Goss stand-in in all of his glory, Matt Doyle, a.k.a. Pipa Higuain. Doyle, thank you very much for joining us. How is your Monday morning? How was your playoff weekend around Major League Soccer?
The playoff weekend was busy. I'm still reeling from that Seattle-Charlotte game, which is like really, it's going to go down in the annals as like one of the all-time MLS games. Like our guy Jeremiah O'Shawn is on Blue Sky right now, putting out. Obviously he's a Sounders guy, so he's putting out sad facts, and like one of them is that Minnesota scored more goals down a man in this game than they had in their prior 10 years of existence. It's just like hashtag this league. I mean, football bloody hell. I don't know which one. So I'm still reeling from that. But apparently not as bad as David's voice. Like David went so hard, he lost his voice at the wedding. And let me tell you, I've been to
obviously
4 or 5 weddings now with Goss. He is one of the all-time party starters.
Oh my God.
Wedding. Like one of the best I've ever seen. The last one we were at a couple of months ago, Rebecca was there too. And Rebecca, my wife, and David, both part of the tribe. And Rebecca was like, this is such bar mitzvah party starter energy. I've never seen anything like it. So mazel tov to Sam, David's sister, and her new husband. And wow. I wish I had been there to see that one, because if Goss has lost his voice,
oh my goodness,
he was throwing down.
I would like to take at least a little bit of credit for that. So Goss and I, shout out to everybody in Charlotte who came out and hung out. We had a lot of fun at Sycamore. David Goss, early flight that day. We crushed content all day long. I was there a little late because my flight issues. Then we do a podcast, then we do a live show, and then it's 11 p.m. and we're looking at each other like we're gonna get Domino's, right? And we're like, yeah. So that was a ton of fun. Thank you again to everybody who came. Yeah, everything closes at 9 p.m. in Charlotte, and by the time the show ended and the first couple people that we were talking to, like at Sycamore, the food all looked incredible, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to get that. Like I pointed to like a couple times, and then I walk up to the bar and I was like, when you say like, hey, is the kitchen closed? And they look down to check a clock, it's like, I'm cooked. Even if it's open, I'm cooked. Like I'm not going to order at 8:58 if it closes at 9 because I'm not an asshole. So that's how that didn't happen. And Doyle, I'm going to derail us even before we get into the playoff action. I promise we will very, very soon. Have I can't wait for your reaction to this. Have I told you about my NCAA 26 Dynasty, at least in passing? Because you're going to learn either way.
Is this the Rutgers team that is coached?
No.
No. Okay.
So I do, but that's my solo one. I'm in an online NCAA Dynasty.
Oh, that's the other one. Right.
With some people whose names you might recognize. MLS and CBS, his own Chris Whittingham is in it. Dan Lebitard, show producer, Mike Ryan. You go on down the list, Josh Apple. There's a lot of names that you guys might recognize, and it's I can't tell you the disappointment and regret when I'm laughing at my phone and my wife asks me why, and I'm like, I'm just going to try to explain this. When I say, oh, we call each other coach in the group chat and say things like, just can't wait to get out on and compete with our young student athletes. So I'm East Carolina University. I got to talk to my athletic director. I did not see any ECU apparel out in Charlotte. I'm disappointed about that, and I need to make that change. But I just wanted your reaction on all of that.
That tracks. I've known you a long time. I would actually be more surprised if you weren't doing something like that. What itch does this scratch for you? Like to obviously we know that like I'm a big believer in group chats, right? But like something about having one in particular where you're calling each other coach, like there's something deep and maybe broken in your psyche that you're doing this, and I'm just curious if you've tried to tease that out a little bit.
I don't know, but
okay,
we love it. We love it very much.
As always, good luck, Emily. Yep.
when I tell her something, she's just like trying to hide her disappointment and disgust and questioning all of her decisions that landed her here. But she should be proud. East Carolina University made it to the semifinals last season, and our young men are just ready to go again. Are we losing? Are we losing viewers and listeners and everything? I'm sure.
This is
Let's get into the playoffs.
This is the part of the podcast where I just go 30 seconds forward, 30 seconds forward.
David Goss is what happens when you leave me to my own devices. Anyway, into the playoffs, Matt Doyle. I'm just going to go chronologically, if that works with you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start on Friday night. Charlotte, the game that I was at. Unfortunately, Goss wasn't, but I was there. Charlotte FC, NYCFC. NYCFC win 3-1. They eliminate Charlotte FC. What were your thoughts from this game in terms of NYCFC's performance? And I guess I would start with that before we look forward.
I don't think NYCFC were good. I thought this was easily
really
their I thought this was easily their worst performance of the three. I think they deserve a lot of credit for sort of like buckling down and surviving the onslaught from the first 20 minutes from Charlotte. But this was like they weren't quite ready to play with the same intensity that Charlotte brought. But what was really good from them is that they had the defenders in particular, the center backs, throwing themselves at everything in the box. And just, I think they had like 7 or 8 blocked shots. I think Matt Freese only had to make 1 save on the night because once they got into the 18, Charlotte did, that's when NYCFC hit desperation mode. But it was Charlotte playing on the front foot.
Yeah.
It was Charlotte being the protagonist. And it was Charlotte, like Dean Smith said afterwards, we were the better team. He was right. But also, like, that's the only time he's been right when he said that after 6 playoff games now in his head coaching career.
That's interesting. So I was going to come at this by saying my biggest takeaway was I think that NYCFC are a strong and good team, but in this game in particular, I was most impressed and excited for their future in Nico Fernandez as a guy. That's what happens when you spend $8 million and you get it right. I thought he was awesome. It wasn't so you spend the money for the 2 goals, and both of those are moments of brilliance. Even on the first one, as he should have played it through to Alonso Martinez.
He should have played it through
in that transition moment.
He should have played it through to Alonso.
It was honestly pretty well defended by Nathan Byrne. That show him to his right foot, try to block an easy pass across, try to do whatever you can 1-on-2, and he did that. Got him to his right foot. Fernandez puts it in the top corner. Then he scores the icing goal in stoppage time. It was from a tight angle, a little chip over the keeper. It wasn't just the goals, though. It felt like whenever they needed to be bailed out or like he's got a guy on his back, fired into his shin, he's going to bring it down, he's going to get out of trouble. I had the pleasure of watching the game mostly from field level, and a lot of times he was drifting in front of me and just like it didn't matter how many people were around him. I was always trusting him to get out of any danger, and I think that's super important. Obviously, Alonso Martinez is a match winner as well. He scored the goal. That dichotomy with Charlotte was I was very impressed that they took it to NYCFC. I was glad they were brave. They were doing a lot of really good possession sequences that ended in the final third. The issue was, in the final third, it always ended at the feet of Jabril Gianni and Brant Bronico. And that was some of the trade-offs of the way they played or the way that they had to line up with no Pep Biel. This game was not Wilfried Zaha's fault. That would be... I opened my window for 5 minutes. And a car
in case
up.
Anybody knows, Tom's in New Jersey. There you go. That was
the same car that
100% in IROC.
That was the same car that drove up, and I don't understand. People are clowns. Anyway, this game was not Wilfried Zaha's fault, but he didnn't do anything.
Yeah,
they didn't lose because of him.
Bad.
But you look on the other side of the field,
and win because of him.
Nico Fernandez winning the game for NYCFC is my entire point.
Nico
and no
Fernandez, dude.
Yeah, exactly. So that was my initial big picture read being at the game.
It's cliche, but a lot of these games come down to intensity and special moments. And NYCFC's whole model is to not have it be that, is to actually play and have the soccer dictate who's the team that comes out on top. In this game, they weren't able to do that. In this game, it was just like, oh God, we have to meet their intensity, and we're not quite there, but we're making these special plays defensively in the box, and then you get a guy like Nico Fernandez to make a special play on the break, and then Alonso, and then Fernandez again. Mm-hmm. And it was complete opposite of the script. Baked into this, Charlotte has 6 guys in their starting, well, 5 field players and the goalkeeper in their starting lineup who are just like 30 somethings from Europe. And well, Tim Ream played most of his career in Europe. And like a lot of these guys are still really good players. It's too many. It's too many. You wear down over the course of the season, and once you hit your 30s, almost every player goes through it, you lose speed. And all 3 of these goals that NYCFC scored, Ream and Byrne left in the dust on the first one, Byrne left in the dust on the second one, Zaha left in the dust on the third one. And it wasn't always a case of straight speed, but it was like they were desperate, and I think that desperation was at least partially born of like, I'm running out of gas. I don't think I could win this foot race. All 3 goals scored on Charlotte set pieces. Like, did you realize that?
Yeah.
All 3 goals were attacking set pieces for Charlotte that NYCFC just went the other way. It was all almost opposite of the script, if you had asked me how this was going to play out. And again, I do think that Charlotte was the better team on the day. I thought NYCFC were the deserved winners.
I agree.
Of the series. They're just a better soccer team. They have a more resilient game model, and their special players made special plays.
Exactly. And to your point about the ages, 5 of the 6 players who played the most minutes for Charlotte this season was 30 and older. Granted, one of them is Brant Bronico, and that doesn't fit that narrative because I think that guy could run literally forever. But
is he 30?
Your point is, yeah, he's 30.
Oh, wow. I thought he was like 26 or 27. All right.
I agree. But yeah, so, and I thought this was a game where, again, Toklamati scored, which was good, but over this series, Thiago Martins dominated Toklamati. I thought Thiago Martins was very good. I thought the back line, particularly in this game at least, maybe I shouldn't extrapolate it, maybe it's recency bias, but Toklamati didn't have a chance anytime that there was a duel. Like, Martins was winning it every time. He would try to peel off the Hack. Hack, I thought, did good defensively. I think NYCFC are just straight up a good team. They're going to have issues in the next round that we can talk about later. Obviously, Andres Pereira, just a brutal, gruesome injury. I saw him in the bowels of the stadium. Maxi Morales was wheeling him around in a wheelchair, which I thought was just a nice little touch. And now Aiden O'Neal is suspended for a dumb yellow card, a yellow card that you can't have when you know that you're on suspension.
I respect his commitment to shithousing, but like you can't put your team in that situation. No. And then it compounded just minutes later with the Pereira injury, and now they're down to really their 4th and 5th string central midfielder. Yeah. Like you said, we'll talk about that more in the. I'm surprised to hear that take on Toklamati versus Martins. I thought Toklamati did a good job of finding moments to be impactful. Like he's the one who set up Bronico for that miss.
I agree, but watching that live, maybe I should go back and watch more replays, but my initial takeaway was he did really well to create space, and he was just like half second too slow to get his feet right to shoot, because when he took that touch, it opened up, and it's okay.
Oh yeah, Bronico, absolutely, but it was
no. I'm saying Toklamati. It's before he rolled. There was good scrambling defense by NYCFC, but when Toklamati, from the angle I was at, when Toklamati took the first touch, if he was able to be a little bit quicker, it's him shooting. And when that's your 9, that's what you want. Granted, maybe it's Pep Biel on a different day that he's rolling the ball to, and this is all moot, and we're talking about what a great assist. But for me, and again, maybe that's just looking at the final result and looking at the people around, the context around you. It was a good pass, but I guess the next step for a 9 like that is being able to sort your feet just a half step quicker and create that space and shoot yourself.
I had no idea you were such a perfectionist. Okay, wow, all right. CMO David Goss has really elevated your game.
Toklamati is an awesome player. He's going to be sold for $15 million at some point. I'm expecting him to be here next season. His run from the summer through the playoffs, and I thought it was awesome. It was super hot during the winning streak. You and I think are both in agreement that that wasn't just a hot run of form. Like that is underlying. That's a really good player.
Yeah, I think any center forward who has reasonable athletic gifts, and his are more than just reasonable, and who understands space to the point that the vast majority of his goals are one-touch finishes, that just translates. That scales up and up and up. And it's why he's been a consistent goal scorer at every single level. And it's why, if and when he is sold, it'll probably work for whoever buys him. The thing, though, is goal scorers like that depend on context. He isn't going to make his own goals out of nothing. Like he's not that level of talent. MLS teams rarely get that level of talent. And the context kind of disappeared over the past month or so for Charlotte. They weren't able to consistently create the types of chances. I don't really think that's Tug Lamanti's fault. It's something that, like, okay, next year when it's Pep Biel playing as a number 10 and Zaha with another year under his belt and more comfortable and maybe a different game model. And I think part of this has to be Dean Smith examining the game model and saying, like, am I, artificially limiting the ceiling because I'm so concerned about raising the floor?
It's fair questions. I think we'll touch again on Charlotte and the other teams that got eliminated at the end of this. So let's move on to the next game. Minnesota United 3-3 win after 10 rounds of a penalty shootout. It's Minnesota United going through. They did not win any of the 3 games in regulation. They won 2 penalty shootouts. I don't even know where to start at this game. Seattle goes up early. Seattle are dominant. Minnesota did pull one back early. Then Joseph Rosales gets a red card. And it feels like it should be over. And then it wasn't. I have no words to describe the chaos that we saw in Minnesota this weekend.
Yeah, just an all-timer time capsule MLS. This league is unlike anything else type of game. And also, like, just a really strong argument for there being playoffs. I love the playoffs. And this game is going to be one of the first I will ever mention. It looked like Eric Ramsey made some choices, man. Like benching Nico Romero for Morris Duggan. That looked really bad. At the start, Kelvin Yeboah was ineffective. He has 2 actual soccer players on the bench, and Julian Gressel and the Austrian guy, Fitz. And neither guy, whatever. I knew it was something like that. Neither guy gets on. It's really they really committed to the bit, and they stayed committed to it, even after going down 2 goals, even after going down a man. As I said at the top of the show, this is they scored more goals, 10-man goals in this game than they have in their past 10 years of existence. They hadn't come back from two goals down in something like 5 years. It was absurd. And afterwards, Brian Schmetzer was like, "This is the toughest loss I've ever had as a coach." And this is a guy who's lost 2 MLS Cups.
Yeah,
and he got beat at home by Portland like 1,000,000 times in a row from 2018 to 2024. Like, he's had some bad losses, and he's like, "This is 100% the worst loss, and we did it to ourselves." And he's right. Minnesota deserves a ton of credit, but this was Seattle going up 2-0 and taking their foot off the gas and falling the fuck apart, ending their season because of it.
I rarely like to use the word choke because it's too easy and we apply it to too many cons. This was Seattle choked. Okay, they're up 2-0 after 10 minutes. I was texting with a source across the league who said, if you give Minnesota another 200 minutes, they will not score 2 goals against this team.
Yeah.
It's an hour later, I get a text back. Oh, guess I was wrong about that. But you go back to game 2, and they did the same thing. Seattle did. They blitz out to a lead. They look like the best team in the league. Everything they're doing, they're dominant. You would think Minnesota, in 100 years, don't have a chance to come back. Yep. 2 bad Seattle mistakes in game 2 let Minnesota back into it, and it's an unnecessarily tight and difficult final 45 or whatever was left in that game that Seattle ended up winning. They're up 2-0 here. They concede on a set piece. Joaquin Pereira, it's difficult to juxtapose how I feel about his performance because he just doesn't do anything in open play. And this is a team that needs him, in this series, this is a team that desperately needs him to. Minnesota ended up scoring all 3 goals in set pieces, which Seattle were obviously well aware of. But they're up 2-0, then it makes it 2-1. Rosales with an extremely dumb red card. You go into halftime, it's 2-0. They're dominating. In the second half, before Minnesota gets their second goal, the tying goal, how many chances did Seattle have? I'm thinking of the
15 minutes,
the Rusnak one that he buries that 80% of the time. Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, and so they took their foot off the gas. They started lapsing, and they concede nonsensical goals on set pieces. Like Diaz was also a set piece, recycled. Mark Hanich, the one that put Minnesota up 3-2. How many times is he going to score at the back post? I believe that was Rusnak who just watched him run away, and then he has a tap into the back post. It's just, these are just inexcusable things that wouldn't happen if they just killed the game off. And this is a team that I would have been extremely confident, if not for game 2, that if they have a multi-goal lead, how many other teams in the league are as well equipped as this Seattle Sounders group in terms of quality, style, and experience to kill a game off against a team like Minnesota, who do not create anything in their own. They rely on transition and set piece, which are really good at. That's much easier when you're up 2-0 than when you're down 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, it was... So, around the 55th minute, I think right after Rusnak hit the post, I tweeted, I put it on Blue Sky, if Seattle gets the third goal here, this game is over. If they don't get the third goal, a Minnesota equalizer is inevitable, and they will go on to win in penalties. So I feel pretty good about that. Sorry,
that was good.
Sounders fans. But also, like, it's so hard to win 2 trophies in 1 year. It is so hard to do that. And I think that the Sounders that we saw from the start of the Club World Cup to the Leagues Cup final is the best team that I saw, maybe second best with Vancouver, in MLS this year. And the level that they played at, the emotion that they met every moment with, and the way they emptied their tanks, like the soccer's been good since then. The level hasn't been the same, right? Like the Sounders team that we saw playing in June, July, August, they don't win, they don't take a 2-1 lead to halftime. They take a 4-1 lead to halftime. The Sounders team that we saw absolutely cement Cruz Azul, there's no chance Dane St. Clair is indulging in any theatrics at the end of that game. So it's just, and it was something that I wrote in my preview of the playoffs. It's like, on balance, the merit of their soccer, Seattle's one of the best teams in this league. But there has to be more than just, are we playing good soccer? I'm devolving into cliches again.
I'm just proud of you for saying that there's more than playing good soccer, because I don't know how many times I feel like I've argued with you and you're like, oh, like it's like the Happy Gilmore quote. Oh yeah, nice drive. Where did he finish? Dead last. Okay, great.
No, you're asking me to admit that my whole life and my whole job has been a lie, so it's a little tough, Tom.
Somewhere in the middle is my entire point. I don't know, for those of you who haven't seen, Minnesota United put on social media, like, they had the speech that Eric Ramsey gave after the game. It was awesome. Like, he borderline didn't know what to say, but he composed himself well. Where he was just like, that was the craziest game, I think, of my coaching career. More or less, like, you guys sucked, but the fight you showed, the resiliency. He goes like he's like, I'm so proud of you and everything. And he's like, this is going to be good for us because we will never play that effing bad again. Like, he was like, you're going to remember this, and you're going to remember, like, it was really funny how he didn't just kind of let off on like, okay, well, we got it. I thought he bounced it really well, and it was a really, really cool look inside that locker room, and you can really easily see why that team plays the way they do and how hard they do, because defending deep and playing for set pieces, Doyle, it ain't fun.
No.
It takes the group being connected, led, and bought in by the head coach, because you think of Gary Smith with Nashville, when he kind of lost it, the locker room, when everything got stale, he was out of there pretty quickly, because the game model does not work unless everybody is 100% bought in, and I think Eric Ramsey deserves credit for that.
Yeah, though, I mean, they had a habit of giving up late equalizers or late losing goals all year long, and they did it again in this one. And I don't think they can do this again against San Diego. I'm just going to keep picking against them the whole way through. I do not think they deserve to win this series. They gave up 7 goals in 3 games. On more than 7 expected goals.
I was going to say a lot.
Dane St. Clair is getting a lot of dap for his performance in the PK shootout. He saved 2 of 15 shots he faced. It was the Woodwork who was the DP for in goal for Minnesota United. Just absurd across the board. But that's the playoffs, man. And that's this league. And I feel privileged to have witnessed that one and to have been able to torment Anders in the group chat throughout. that was a real good moment for me.
You sent every single MLS Reddit meme Monday.
Mm-hmm. I woke up first thing. I woke up first thing. I was like, how can I make Anders miserable?
To the Mariners as well. So before we get on to the next game, just talking about the shootout really quickly. Dane St. Clair, again, legendary trash talker. He came off his line. He ended up, like, the referee was just like, I don't want to book you. I have to book you. I can only tell you so many times that you can't do this. And I think my favorite one was Minnesota, go ahead. And this was like one of those words. It was clearly at the sudden death stage of the shootout. I forget who the shooter was. And he was just like, no. I'm just asking the question for the rules. If he misses, it's over, right? And he said it like
right? Yeah.
5 times. He goes, no. I just want to make sure I'm not wasting time. I just don't know the rules. If he misses, it's over, right? Like, and I just watching him like do all of that. I really wish that some of the Seattle players kind of barked back a little bit. Like there was one, Jackson Reagan. Like Dane St. Clair goes over to the corner.
He was the only
like,
one. Yeah.
He points in the corner and starts like clapping like over here, right? You're gonna shoot over here, and then St. Clair dives the other way, and Reagan pinged it exactly at the spot that Dane St. Clair pointed to. I just wish that he was just like point. Yeah, no, I did put it right there. You want to go get like? Yeah. I would have loved some more back and forth there. Probably wouldn't have been wise on Seattle's part, to be fair. Maybe you don't need to keep Dane going, but I was hoping for a little bit more fireworks.
I mean, he's Dane St. Clair. He's not Michael Jordan. You could trash talk back to him. That would have been fine. And I thought Jackson Reagan did a little bit. It was Alex Roldan who made his, who didn't.
Oh, maybe there was that
take
one.
The moment. Yeah, who didn't take the moment to
that. Maybe that was the one. But like he put it like right in the spot.
Oh yeah, he really nailed it. But it was, I mean, it was wild, man. And credit to Minnesota. They're through, and the Sounders season is done. And now the U.S. national team's best player, Christian Roldan, can move on to more important things.
United States international break this weekend. United States playing Paraguay and Uruguay. First game is in Philadelphia. I will be there. I'm sure I'll have some more to talk about on Thursday's show about the national team. Let's move on to the next game. Cincinnati, Columbus. I thought this game was really, really good, Doyle. I was very impressed by Columbus, how they played.
Yep.
They get the go-ahead goal in the second half, and you start to worry, like, or you think on the Cincy side, oh, they're at home, like it's Columbus again. And the way that they rallied from that point on, 2 good goals from Brenner, really, really fun atmosphere. I thought Cincinnati responded really well. I thought they played fine in the first half, but it was more like Columbus. I was like, oh man, like this is what we thought Columbus was going to look like, even without Wessam Abu Ali and even with Daniel Gazdag on the bench. So Cincy to fight back in that moment and get a win was very, very impressive to me. Again, Brenner, 2 goals to win, 2-1. Extremely impressive. What a signing. I believe his feet, like he took less money to come back to Cincinnati. I want to reiterate that point.
Once Cincinnati gets into your blood, man, like you just can't leave that place.
There's Brazilian clubs calling about him all of the time. Like when he's not playing at Udinese, there are teams lining up to loan, just like there were teams lining up to loan him back from Cincinnati after the first year. He didn't need to lose money. He could have went to Brazil and made his money. He could have stayed in Udinese and said, I want to stay, right? Like he wanted to come back to Cincinnati. And I just think this was a really, really cool moment for Brenner personally.
That is a testament to the work that Pat Noonan and Chris Albright have done since they took over 4 years ago now, is it? And making it the type of culture where people actually want to be there. I mean, I wish for their sake it worked for Alvaro Barrial as well, because I'm just watching that guy play.
Me too.
But it's, they have been able to build that while also holding people like Lucho Acosta accountable. And when your best players are held accountable and then you go out and you sign a better player, like, okay, that's a club with ambition and it's a club with a vision. And it's not like everything works out every time. And I certainly have my gripes with certain aspects of how Cincinnati plays. And I wish that Noonan developed young players a little bit more often. But like it's just overall such a beyond rock solid organization, and that's why you can have someone who's as combustible as Brenner was come back and want to be a part of it and become a part of it in a really productive way, not just box score productive, but continuing to build the culture productive.
So and sorry to just belabor the point here, but we'll talk about the entire game. But like one more on Brenner, you talk about the culture and everything else. Brenner and Albright hated each other. I don't think that I'm misstepping by talking on this. Like That was a widely known fact with the club. Like, I think both parties deserve credit, including Brenner's representation, including the other front office members, including the coaching staff. Like, it was this time in the winter, there was a couple flirtations from, I believe Brenner's side or maybe it was somebody at Cincy of like, hey, maybe, I don't know. There was no chance. And this is even after like Brenner called Albright to apologize, like, hey man, like I was immature. I'm sorry. Like, and that was the first step of both of them being, hey, like I handled things wrong too. That it is a sign of really strong culture. And again, for it to be this person, not somebody who left on great terms, very, very impressive. It's really, really cool for him to get this moment. Cincinnati, I hope that they're able to be healthier. If Miazga, like they desperately were missing Matt Miazga, and that is going to be such a game changer against Miami if he is indeed ready to play, which he seems like he would.
I'm not sure it is. I
you don't think so?
I don't think.
Would you rather Messi running at Elvis Powell?
I mean, I wouldn't rather either of them, but I think it's inevitable. I just don't think Miazga's looked like the same guy since the injury in the middle of last year. And it's unfortunate because he was playing at a Defender of the Year caliber, again and again and again. But it's just, maybe by next season. But at this point in time, when's the last time he played? It's been a while. Are you going to put him in?
He's back on the training ground. I forget if it was light team training or individual training. Laurel Failer has been providing updates, so check out what she's posting. So I'm assuming based on that timeline that he could be ready to go. But let me be clear. That's reckless speculation.
Yeah, that's fine. It's the best kind. I don't know if you're going to drop that guy in for 90 against Messi and that team. But back to the game. This was, I think, the definitive 90-minute time capsule of who these two teams are. And for Columbus, it was, as you said, they played beautiful soccer. This was them not at their absolute best, but it was like really, really close. And using it to get into high leverage spots. And then, as was the story, basically throughout the year, except for like the 3 weeks with Abu Ali was healthy, they just lacked the quality in the box to turn that into box score advantage, to turn that into goals and assists. Like the fundamentals of who they are as a team is still there, and I am still a huge believer in them.
Of course.
But you need to marry that with top end quality, and they did that the past 2 years with Cucho, and they won MLS Cup and they won the Leagues Cup because of it, and they just never were able to replace that to any with any consistency in 2025, and it's why their season is over. And the flip side, I don't think Cincinnati was bad in any way, but they really rely more than any other team in the league, including Miami, on having their match winners win matches for them. Whether it's Roman Solentano in goal, or Miles Robinson snuffing out a counterattack, or Evander, Kevin Danke, or Brenner creating special moments, usually off of mistakes that the other team has made. Combined with that is that one of the Achilles heels for Columbus all year is like they're just not great defending in their box. They just have not been great at that. They give you space. You can manhandle them a little bit. And you look at that second Brenner goal, look at the way the defense gets manhandled by the big French striker. And it's like, oh, okay. Like all of this came together. If Cincinnati were going to win this, it was going to be almost this exact same way in the way it played out. Another 1-goal win for a team that has built a 65-point season on that.
Exactly. I'm a little bit all season. Luca Orjano has been not what we saw last season.
Yeah, disappointing.
Yeah. He comes. The goal for Columbus is Orjano subs on the broadcast as they like. It's a big moment. Like he's a potential match changing player. Comes in for Lucas Engel at wing back. Okay, since he's going for it now. The camera shifts off of watching Orjano run onto the field and the commentators talking about it to Columbus plays a long ball in behind the space behind him and they score. Like it was a tough, unfortunate moment there. And then again, Brenner was able to rescue that. I thought it was a really good finish by Jason Russell-Rowe. It speaks volumes of how Wilfred Nancy sees this team. He made one sub until the last 5 minutes. That was taking off Taha Brun in the first half for Jason Russell Rowe to try to counter Cincy playing high and get in behind. That's exactly what happened on that goal. Russell Rowe scores. And then they kind of just tried to hold on from there. It didn't last long. Obviously, it was 4 minutes later that Brennan scored. But it's 1-1 in the 70th minute. You have a DP on the bench. You have a summer signing on the bench. You have a couple other guys who are viewed to be key players to the team on the bench. And Gazdag, Aliu, and Chaberko don't come in until there's a minute left. Lassi Lapalainen comes in with 5 minutes left. And there's we'll talk about Columbus and the offseason, big questions. But first, Darlington Nagby's final game. We gave him all of his flowers, as he's goddamn well deserved. But just one more time, what a winner, what a legend, what a unique, incredible player in person. Congratulations to him on an insane career. He's not, obviously, his 2023, I think, was his last, oh my God, he's one of the best players in the league year. If he wanted to play 3 more years, he'd be a starter in this league,
Yeah. I thought he was really good last year. I mean, honestly, I thought
the 2023 was the culmination of
that second half of the season that he had in 2023. Once they got rid of Zelarayan, that was him hitting his apex form. I'll tell you, I got a little emotional, and I was never the hugest Nagby fan because I was always frustrated by the stuff that I thought he should be doing, given how gifted he was. And it was only really the last 3-4 years where I was able to accept and appreciate the stuff that he was actually doing that nobody else could really replicate. And I got a little emotional, a little bit of tears in my eyes at the final whistle, paying tribute to him online a little bit for what he represented. And just personally, he came into the league in 2011, which was the year that I started at MLS full time. And it's wow, marking the passage of time kind of thing. I didn't expect it to hit me quite like it did. But he's gotten a lot of praise around the league. And he has obviously earned every single bit of that and more. Just watching the way Cincinnati players were celebrating him at the final whistle.
Oh my God, man.
You don't see a lot of that. You just don't. And I think it speaks to who he was as a player and who he is as a human being.
And Darlington has been the heart and soul of Columbus-Cincy rivalry over the last 4 or 5 years or whatever, right? He's the captain. He's the most annoying player to try to take the ball off because you just can't take the ball off him. He's at the middle of every single thing. It's easy to hate your eternal rivals. Probably maybe not best player because Kikucho stuff, but best, right? One of the best players, but the guy who typifies the game model. You should for them to all recognize immediately after. That's a great point. Immediately after the final whistle, that even the team's eternal rivals, who has blocked Cincinnati from winning MLS Cup in the past, everyone's like, "Nah, dude, this guy's a legend."
Yeah. Now they got to go out and get Emeka and Ellie. It's the only answer.
I love you talking that into existence. That would be a lot of fun. We'll talk about Columbus's offseason in a bit. Cincinnati move on to face Inter Miami in their Game 3. This was Saturday night, so we got the Minnesota game first. We got the Minnesota-Seattle game first.
To ass.
Cincy Columbus was really, really strong. I was thinking, man, I got Miami-Nashville. This could be an all-time MLS playoff day. I still think it was. Yep. But Miami-Nashville was not quite the same as those first 2 games. Bell to ass, as Doyle so eloquently put it. 4-0 into Miami. Messi, 2 goals, 2 assists. Miami scored 8 goals over 3 games against Nashville. Messi had scored or assisted on all 8. That's just the story of the series. Sometimes I wish that it was deeper, and we can go into the tactical nuances. We can go into other performances and a lot of other ways to look at it. But the big picture here is, man, Lionel Messi's pretty good, and it doesn't matter if you press, doesn't matter if you sit in. There are some times when you put your hands up and say, well, if we don't score on most of our shots, they're going to score more than us. And Miami, I thought it was a very good performance, but it all starts with Lionel Messi.
Miami was really organized and prepared throughout this series, and granted, Nashville outplayed them and completely deserved that win in Game 2. But that was not because Miami was bad. It was because Nashville put everything they had into that game, and did a really good job. BJ Callahan did. This one, Javier Mascherano is, I think, wildly underappreciated as a head coach because he has adjusted personnel and formation and lines of confrontation and pressing triggers all year long to try to, like, we know any team that has Messi is going to have a really high ceiling. His job has been to raise the floor. It's like the opposite of Dean Smith in Charlotte. He has had to work really hard to bring that up. And the way he's done that, and what we saw in this game, was actually dropping Busquets a little bit deeper, not necessarily splitting the center backs, but like having him just be the shield and then the, orchestrator from deep, while letting DePaul, who really struggled his first couple of years, or his first couple months rather, be like more of a true number 8 in front of the 6. It's not necessarily a side-by-side partnership. And then the other thing is just like releasing the wide midfielders to press anytime they're going up against a fullback or even another wide midfielder with their back to goal. It's just like, it's a very simple thing, but they have clarity on it now that they didn't have, I don't think, last year or even earlier this year. And you add that to Messi and you get turnovers, and you better call the ambulance because they're coming for you because you're down 1-0 in a way that only Messi can put you down 1-0.
Yeah, it was Messi picking up a deflected loose pass just ahead of midfield, solo run, incredible goal. After that, it's Silvetti running in behind and squaring to Messi to make it 2-0. It was a really good play by Silvetti. Let me get it out of the way now. They looked better in this attacking fluidity and runners around Messi. Messi play false 9. Allende and Silvetti will play technically as wingers, but more like inside forwards. So there's always Alba coming up on the left flank and runners in behind Messi and beyond Messi, and then runners helping press when Messi is not running, rather than having 2 players up top who are not going to be doing a ton of work against the ball. For me, with Luis Suarez suspended, I don't know. I would be surprised if Javier Mascherano and the leadership council, let's just say, would give Javier Mascherano free reign to keep the starting lineup. But I got to tell you, dude, they looked better in attack, fluidity-wise, and more structured defensively with this rather than Suarez playing up top.
Suarez has 17 goals and 17 assists this year. Are you sure this is not a prisoner of the moment take?
I've been trying to push back against it in my own mind, because there was when I broke the news that he was suspended, there was a lot of like, LOL, like they're doing Miami a favor again, like those stupid jokes. And I was like, that's just so disrespectful for, like you said, he's got the numbers. But I think that the impact it has against the ball and the knock-on effects around the team, and particularly how good Silvetti has been since he arrived, it's been
Silvetti's legit. He's
pleasant surprise, because anybody on the U22 initiative coming mid-season, I'm just generally not expecting much from them early on. And he is legit, and he was really lively. And so you have to sacrifice him for Suarez. And again, it's just a completely different game model. And you're right. I'm glad that you pushed back in terms of maybe that's...
I'm glad you're glad. I'm glad you're glad, Tom.
But I don't know, man. Like, watching the way that they played, I don't know. I would want that type of flexibility around Lionel Messi.
There's no chance. There's just no chance it's going to happen.
Right. Like, all this is probably moot.
Yeah, like next game could be the final game of Sergio Busquets and Jordi Alba's career, and Luis Suarez is available. You think he's not going 90 minutes? The dude's played 4,200 minutes this year.
But it's food for thought.
Yeah, like it's going to be the version of Miami that we saw down the stretch, basically from that Chicago game onwards. I think that version of Miami, like, I'm still picking them to win MLS Cup. I honestly think they're going to trounce Cincinnati, and I know that might be a stupid thing to say, because Cincinnati actually trounced them the last time that they were playing in TQL. But like, Toto Alves started that game. Oscar Rustari, Ben Cramashi, I think was starting as the 8. Very different kind of lineup. And look, man, Cincy, their emergency defense is. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're going to do a long preview of this game eventually, but like, Cincy's defense, even when they're playing well, they give you chances, and Columbus did not have the attackers to punish those chances. I kind of think Miami does. I think they might have the Nay Plus Ultra version of that in the history of the fucking game.
Sure. they won since he won 3-0 in this fixture.
Yep.
I think it's really important that it's at TQL and not in Miami, which is why I'm giving the edge to Cincy. I think either team. I would you go as far to say the winner? Like you already think Miami are going to win the cup. I think the winner of this game is the clear favorite for MLS Cup. Maybe not clear. That's too strong because it's the MLS playoffs. But that's how I'm viewing this game. Like I think we'll look back on it and being unfortunate that it's a conference semifinal.
I don't think I would.
Final.
I don't think I would pick Cincinnati to win at Philadelphia. I don't think I would pick Cincinnati to win MLS Cup against LAFC or Vancouver.
Fair. I'm still higher on that team than you are, so agree to disagree. Yep. Oh, on Alba and Busquets, they've announced their retirements. They will retire when the season's over. And there was a possibility that was going to be Saturday. Obviously, very quickly turned out to not be the case. But after the game, Mascherano was asked about that, and he gave a really thoughtful answer. So I kind of want to read the quote here. Mascherano goes, quote, it's about Alba, like, hey, like if you lost, their careers are over. Mascherano goes, quote, it's clear that we know, I think subconsciously. Nobody says it, nobody comments on it. But we now know, we know that we've entered the playoffs. The flame is beginning to extinguish, no? Look, if there's something that I have to say about these last few weeks, it's the joy we are living day to day. The thing that fills me with the most pride about this team is how we've arrived at this stretch of the season. In training, I see the players having fun. I see a lot of smiles. I see a very good atmosphere. And I think that is the best way to face things. Watching Jordi Alba in particular play, like we were just talking about Nagby, I think he'd still be a difference maker in this league if he wanted to go a couple more years. But those two, it's easy for us to kind of forget or overlook it or make the Miami-Barcelona jokes. These are literally two of the generational talents of the last 2 decades. And their careers just got extended by at least 1 game, maximum of 3 games.
Yeah. And that, I mean, to bring it back to the start of your analysis of this game within the context of the wild Saturday night that we had, that's what makes this a special moment and a special game, because we're getting to see these 2 guys at the very end, and we got to see another Messi masterclass. And we just cannot. We're bad soccer fans if we take any of that for granted, right? This is why we watch sports, to see geniuses like these guys, and including Darlington, Nagby in that, to see them play at this level and empty it all out. And I'm sorry for Nashville, who had a great year, by the way, and who is going to be a very interesting team to watch in this offseason. I'm personally glad that I get to see 90 more minutes at least of Busquets and Alba.
Cincinnati, Miami. That's going to be a great game next round.
Did you ever think for a second that Nashville had a chance in this game?
I thought they had a chance. I didn't think that it was likely, because I thought that first game, it's really, really difficult, obviously, to go to South Florida, beat this Miami team. And Miami getting the first goal. And when it was the second one, it was like, you want to talk yourself into what if they get the next one? And it felt pretty clear. I'd imagine that's how you felt.
I never, even if the Surge goal had stood, and I thought it should have, I just don't think that they were ever coming back into this one. I didn't think that from before the whistle. I thought they did a really good job in game 2 to get that win, and to set that's Nashville fans, that's their final memory of 2025, their final in-person experience with that team, getting to see those guys, and that's great. And it feels like they have a chance to build something. They're a 55-point team and a trophy this year. It's hard to go up from there, but they actually are in position to do that next year. It is a wildly successful season, even though, they had no chance going into this game at all. There was never a moment, Tom. There was never a moment where I thought they were going to take this one.
That's more about Miami than it is Nashville, to be clear.
Yes.
Again, it was going to take something special, and it was going to take a bad performance for Miami. And again, that's no disrespect for Nashville. What a season. They win their first trophy in the US Open Cup. Touch on them in a minute, but we got one more game to get to. I don't know how much that there is really going to be to dissect onto this one. San Diego 4-0 over the Portland Timbers. And you talk about games being over early. San Diego were up 2-0 in the 17th minute, and every single time they touched the ball, it looked like they were going to score. Portland went to a mostly man-marking system that we haven't seen since Matias Almeida's San Jose Earthquakes. And even that, Matias Almeida might tell Phil Neville, whoa, dude, You're being a little risky. Like, I don't know about that. Like what Matias Almeida's system would do is would leave a center back and a goalkeeper so that they always had +1 because inevitably if you have 50-50 duels all over the pitch, you're going to lose some. So they try to have a man up. I'm watching Velda just cover man mark a center back. And if the ball goes to a goalkeeper, he leaves the center back and goes to, and it's like, oh, that's the extra man? The extra man is supposed to be in defense. They played with fire, and sometimes you play with fire, you get burned. And other times you play with fire, you get scorched for 90 straight minutes.
Yeah. This is another one I never really thought that
I was wrong.
Portland had a chance.
Wrong. Yeah, I was wrong.
Did you pick Portland to win this game?
I didn't pick Portland to win, but I was saying, I don't know, because Goss was saying what you were like, dude, there is no chance. It's like, and I don't know, man. I think that they're a live dog.
I think
not
San Diego. I think San Diego was actually offended at how Portland played them in that second game.
They definitely were.
It was like they took it personally, and I think Mikey Veras probably had a come to Jesus moment after that one because he got rattled. He actually made defensive subs down the stretch in that second game after after San Diego were up 2-1. And he never does that. And that put them up against it for the final 25 minutes up in Portland. And the Timbers got a completely deserved goal for the equalizer that they then won in the shootout. And I think that pissed Mikey Veras off probably at himself more than anyone else for actually giving into chaos ball and not doing what San Diego had done all year long, is use another team's chaos against them. And as soon as I saw that Phil Neville had switched the formation, because it was more of a 3-4-2-1 than the 4-3-3 that he's usually played, and as soon as I saw he had mostly kept the wild-eyed man marking all over the field, though I think it was dialed back a little bit in this one, though I'm not sure that was by design. Like, yeah, I was like, ooh, this is like San Diego's getting at least 3. At least 3. And to Portland's credit, there were a couple of times, right, where I think
Cisniega, a couple.
Yeah, Cisniega, like right up the gut, like almost gave it away. A few others inside the first 20 minutes, but by that point it was already 2-0.
Yep.
So it was like, all right, yeah, this is cooked.
Yeah, so they did create chances. They were able to get some balls overturned in the attacking half and sometimes in the attacking third. San Diego would take that trade off for like they had really smart. I thought Oni Valakari, the way he moved, was really smart. Yeah. Corey Baird did too. It was in conjunction. Like obviously they were clear, like you said. I think that they were a little bit annoyed, like you're gonna play us like Matias Almeida / like college soccer, high school soccer. It's like when Matias Almeida is doing it in MLS, it's like I have not seen this since being on a crappy grass soccer field in high school or college.
That shit is still working. He did that with Sevilla against Barcelona last month, and Barcelona looked like they got hit by a truck. It was ridiculous.
It's just unbelievable because it was such a joke in MLS when he was here. Yeah. And they were kind of like, you're gonna play that like schoolboy crap against us. So I'm assuming that this is down to the coaching staff as well as the intelligence of the players who have to put it into practice. And it's difficult when you got a guy on you at all times. But it'd be Corey Baird would be standing with a center back, Finn Sermon usually, and just sprint 30 yards close to goal. And Sermon's like, okay, I got to follow him. And then Oni Valkari or Severskov is making a deep run from midfield behind whoever's marking
and
them.
Getting into that. It's not even a half space at this point. It's a full goddamn space.
And sometimes they missed the pass. It was not often that like, oh, great defensive play there by Portland. It was like weird. It was like even when it was 2-0, I was like, this could be 8-0 at some point. Yeah. Like Anders Dreyer coming alive immediately when the ball is turned over, when the goalkeeper has the ball, just darting in any different direction to put pressure on this Portland backline and man marking system. Diego Chara, the ground he's still able to cover. He put out a couple fires by having to ditch his man.
The first thing that happened in this game was like Diego Chara having to run in that right channel and like run down a semi breakaway and block across right on from the primary assist zone with like 3 separate San Diego runners in the box. And I was like, oh, they're in trouble because like he's 40. He's 40 and there's no defenders there to help him.
But he's the man. What a legend. 2 points on San Diego's. Again, we're going to get to the eliminated teams next. I'm sure we'll have plenty to say about Portland. We'll start with that when we get there. But San Diego, Anders Dreyer, just step up in the big moments. Bruce Arena always said this when he would joke about, don't get too deep tactically. Like, hey, like your best players have to be your best players in the playoffs. Anders Dreyer, 3 goals, 2 assists in those 3 games. And Chucky Lozano, was expecting him to start this game. He didn't. I hope that we see that in the next phase, though. Corey Barrett has been good.
He took a beating, Chucky Lozano did. So it's all
right. But the other part of that front three is Amal Pellegrino. He was a deadline day signing. He comes from San Jose. He cost nothing, and San Diego are only paying the minimum veteran salary. And he has 6 goals and 3 assists in his last 5 matches. Granted, 4 of those matches were against Portland, which somebody pointed out to me because I already forgot about decision day. That might inflate numbers a little bit, but that's still 9 goal contributions in 5 games.
Yeah. I mean, he's been great. He's fit right in. I think they're paying about $1.95 worth of his salary as well. So, like, well done. I mean, Tyler Heaps has thrown not quite a no-hitter, but he's had the best first season of a CSO.
Incredible.
Maybe in league history, right? Like the only mistake he made was not retaining Milani Losky.
But that I agree with you, and I've had my own criticisms. I want to be fair to them. Amal Pellegrino's playing, Corey Barrett's playing. Like it has worked fine for them, I guess, through this.
Eventually, right? I think if they had retained Milani Losky, then they would have won the Shield. Actually,
again, that's
because they went 2 months without scoring more than 2 goals. 3 months without scoring more than 2 goals. And like they eventually clicked down the stretch. Thank you, Phil Neville, for figuring that out for them. But like it was, anyway, my point is that Tyler Heaps has done a brilliant job, and getting Pellegrino has worked out perfectly. San Diego know exactly how they are and exactly how they're going to play. And they're going to do the exact same thing 2 weeks from now against Minnesota United.
Well, I don't think it'll be the exact same, just because things will be a little bit different defensively. But I digress. We're going to dive into these matchups. We got 2 weeks until the next playoff game because of the international break, so we're going to do full deep dives into these games, I'm sure, next week, whether Doyle you're here or not. I don't know. It'll be me and Goss. Maybe it'll be you. I don't know. We'll decide if you are another call-up. Let's talk about the 5 teams that we lost this round. Let's start with Portland, because we're just talking about Portland. What you said about Nashville was great foundation, all these positive things. There are ways where you could lose, and even lose in the first round, even if you had expectations, and still feel really good. There are reasons to feel good about Portland, but not as many. Portland fans probably don't feel great today after that loss, and the way that they lost, and the way that the team is at, and the crossroads that they are at. It's 2 years under Phil Neville, and they lost 5-0 in the playoff game last year in the wild card. Evander immediately criticizes the club and leaves. And now this year, it's a 4-0 loss in Game 3 to San Diego, and in a series in which they were played off the pitch.
Yeah, David Da Costa, I think that it's reasonable to expect him to be a better player next year. It's not reasonable to expect him to be as good as Evander. Kevin Kelsey was a signing that I questioned from the jump, because as toolsy as he is, and he's big and he's strong and he's got a rocket of a left foot. He's good quickness, good balance. He does not know where goals come from, right? He does not get those one-touch finishes that we were talking about on Toklamati before. So his goal scoring doesn't really scale. He needs to learn how to play the game still. It's why he's not in Cincinnati anymore. So like questionable signings there. Velda had a tough time integrating. Even more worrisome are Juan David Mascara and David Ashala. Are they as good as they were 2 years ago? Are they as good as they should be? If it's not 40-year-old Diego Chara running into the channel to stop a breakaway inside of 2 minutes, is there anybody else you trust on that roster to do it? Maybe Finn Sermon. Like he's good,
yes,
especially like in emergency defense. I would have liked to have seen him playing something other than emergency defense at some point this year. By the underlying numbers, they were actually a worse team than last season. The one thing that I will say, I think they have started to maybe put more stock into in-league experience. Getting Matty Rojas, getting Felipe Caballo, like those are guys, trading for Fernandez.
Yep.
Like these are getting contributions out of Ariel Lassiter. Like these are the types of guys that the Timbers in the past have overlooked, and hopefully they will continue to get players like that, as well as to develop and trust players from Next Pro like Gage Guerra. And what we've seen over the past few years is that Next Pro success tends to really translate to MLS success. Like if you're a good player in Next Pro, you're probably going to be a pretty good player in MLS. They have to adjust that or accept that part of it and be more willing to put those players into bigger roles, because you're not always going to have MVP caliber DP production. And if you don't, if you're a negative on both of those parts of the equation, you're not going to stick around in the playoffs for very long at all.
Exactly. And this team looking forward, Zuparic is out of contract, probably not going to stay. He's put in a transfer trade request, I think 2 years ago. Felipe Mora has a contract option for 26. I believe CL Merlo has already reported that there were teams lining up in Chile and elsewhere in South America that would want him if he becomes a free agent. Those are two ways that they could create space. Diego Chara has an option for 26. I think
they have to retain him.
Whether he's deciding to retire, like that is not about that. Jonathan Rodriguez will be back in 26. Felipe Carballo will come off the TP spot, so they'd have 3 and 3. Finn Sermon is obviously a building block for this team. I think Christopher Velde showed that he's a building block. David DaCosta, I am worried about. I think he's a good player. I agree with you. I am for sure want to give him the benefit of the doubt for 26 because he had a lot of moments, particularly early in the season. He hasn't had an offseason in a while, and he was not a regular player all of the time for Lens before he came here. There's a possibility he just ran out of steam by the end of the season. So I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt there. So you could have a DP roster that looks good. Anthony, who knows what happens with him? I know that there was offers for him this summer. Crepeau walks, right? Like, so they'll have some flexibility, not any flexibility with the DPs, but they will have some flexibility, and there are good pieces within this team.
Is Phil Neville's job safe?
No.
Okay. I guess that's the number one thing to keep an eye on then. That's
not to indicate that I've heard anything that is suggesting that they're going to change managers or whatever. Like I will say if you say it's 100% safe, absolutely not. And nor can it be after that playoff loss. And things again. I know that there were some bad hands that Neville and the coaching staff were dealt, but they did not maximize here. So that'll be something to watch in the offseason. Who knows? We'll move forward. Nashville, speaking the opposite there in terms of big time questions. This team wins their first ever trophy, the U.S. Open Cup. Speaking to a couple players in the lead up to this game, and they kind of joked that we left Austin and immediately we're flying to Montreal for a regular season game 72 hours later. We had a little bit of a parade that with the next weekend or whatever. They were like, it hasn't really felt like it's landed that this special moment we have. They win that trophy. They play really, really well throughout the season. Serge and Hani Mukhtar look like one of the best duos in the league. There's a lot of things to like in the midfield. Moving forward, the biggest question is Walker Zimmerman's out of contract. I think it's easy to say you can't make him a DP again, but this is such a foundational player to Nashville's history. And all it takes is one other team in the league to say, I would give him a DP contract, right? And we always joke about, whether you or I would do it is moot because all it takes is one, and we'll see what happens. I would be very disappointed to see Walker Zimmerman leave Nashville, but he'll follow, right? Like if the money is crazy different, like any other human being, and the front office has shown, Sean Davis is somebody who they hold near and dear to their heart. He's gone. There are other players throughout this team's history that I felt might be untouchable, and they haven't always done that. So,
yeah, if they do not bring him back as a DP, the question is, do they go to the 3-and-3 model or do they go to the U22 model where it's only two? Because their other two DPs, obviously Sam Surridge and Hani Mukhtar are locked in on big numbers,
as they should be.
And the other thing is if it was Gary Smith still coaching, there's no way you could have four U22s. There's just you couldn't have 4 22-year-old players on the entire roster. Whereas with BJ Callahan has already shown, not to the Mikey Veras level, but he is more than willing to trust young players. And look, Matthew Corcoran made a mistake on the first goal, but I don't think it's because he was young. I think that was just because Miami were pressing and they had blood in their eyes and they smelled blood in the water. And you get better, you know. And here's Taquito saying hi. Say hi,
That's
buddy.
very
Yeah. But yeah, so do we think it'll be a 3-3 or do we think it'll be a 2-4-2?
That's a really good question. I'm not entirely sure. I do think that it depends on Zimmerman's future because his pedigree, like obviously he'll be a significant TAM deal, I think would be the way that he could come in. Again, this is all speculative. I've not asked anybody, any relevant party about this. Nobody wanted to talk about it until the season eventually ends. And they're going to have these conversations because, again, I would expect if he stays, it's going to be on a significant TAM deal. So then what makes the most sense in terms of moving the chess pieces around on the salary cap? Like, do we need the GAM? And hey, is there a U22 guy we like a lot that those cost money in terms of transfer fees? What is ownership, right? I would like to see another designated player just because I think that they've done well on the U22 initiative and they have some younger players. This is a team that wants to win trophies, and you can do that 2-4-2, but it's easier when you have 3 designated players if you hit all 3.
Let me make a suggestion. Nico Chakiris. Play him as a number 10 underneath Hani and Surridge, and you have either Ahmed Kassem or Johnny Perez on the right side. You have Schaffelberg or Alex Muil just grinding people down on the left side. It's like if Chakiris is not going to be the guy for San Jose, man, he makes a lot of sense as a string puller underneath that forward pairing in Nashville. And he would be a U22. It would be the same gambit that we saw Houston take with Jack McGlynn. The exact same thing. Yep. And I know Houston didn't have a great year, but McGlynn did. Like, imagine putting him underneath Hani and Sam Surridge. So that's free advice, Mike Jacobs. Here you go. Go Celtics.
So that's Nashville. The next team to talk about, Columbus. I think the biggest questions here are the rumors that are flying around about Wilfried Nancy and Celtic. I was talking to Aiden Morris for a feature I wrote on Aiden Morris, and I asked him about Nancy. He goes like, yeah, this is probably going to sound dumb, but like he's like, I think he's one of the best coaches in the world. So suffice to say, I don't think that he'll have any issue. And he goes, I hope to work with him again in the future. Like, You talk to the people who've played for Wilfried Nancy in Columbus, it matches everything that we see from the outside. So we're always operating as if it's a matter of time. So even I don't know if there's any validity to the Celtic Nancy rumors. I checked on it like 3 weeks ago when it first came out, when it was at the air quote interest stage. And at that point, I hadn't heard anything that Celtic and Columbus or Celtic and Nancy's camp had any official contact, but that can very much have changed over the last 3 or 4 weeks, particularly that there was a report in Scotland that their top target isn't available until December. And Columbus were planning to be at MLS Cup on December 5th. So my bigger point here is whether it's Celtic, there's always going to be a team that fires their manager in Europe, and we're going to say, is Wilfried Nancy, he's going to get connected to jobs. So that's the biggest question is, does Nancy stay with this team or not? And the next question is, does Daniel Gazdag get year 2? Because before the playoffs, I felt pretty certain he was going to. And then being a borderline DNP over this series makes me question that.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. Like, and I will say for Nancy in particular, I love that man so much. I will actually become a fan of whatever team he becomes a coach. I will debase myself.
In the championship.
I will debase myself by watching the Scottish Premier League. That's how high I am on Wilfried Nancy.
I thought you were already going to be watching Aberdeen and their new sporting director.
Yeah. But no, the Gazdag thing, like, I actually picked Columbus to win that series, and I just thought it was going to be like a pure MLS thing where Gazdag comes and he's shit for the entire regular season and he just turns it on in the playoffs and becomes a playoff hero. It obviously didn't work out that way. No. You can't bring him back. Like, it did not work.
So I agree with that sentiment. I agree with that thought process. But this isn't Atlanta where, like, nobody's paying Moranchuk what his salary is or anything near the fee that Atlanta paid. I believe that Atlanta would just be like, I don't care, I'm just going to eat all the money.
Right.
Will Columbus do that? They just signed him to a new contract. And you can guarantee at this point, like, you're going to have to buy some of that out no matter where he goes. Are they
Yeah.
willing to do that? And what is the transfer fee for Daniel Gazdag after you spend $4 million on him, or whatever the number was off the top of my head? So I agree with the other, like the thought process, but it's not so easy to just get out of a bad DP deal if that's how it's viewed around the league or around Europe.
Yeah. I'm trying to think where he would fit. Well, it's for another show.
Philly?
Not anymore.
Yeah, then they're U23. So Aliu has a contract option for next year. Hugo Pichard just got here. I think he's shown good moments. I would like to see.
He runs a lot.
Does run a lot. Any U22 initiative player, give them the time to adapt it. And to be fair, I would like to see him with Diego Rossi and Wessam Abu Ali. We did not see enough of that preferred attack. There's a possibility that if Abu Ali is playing, like they get through. This was obviously a super tight series, and Abu Ali was really good before he got hurt. He adapted very well. I still think things are looking up for Columbus, and I think we both.
I think Habrun is a much better prospect than Picard.
Yeah,
and I think
I thought he was impressive
if
too.
Nancy is back next year, ideally, it's that front three is Rossi, Habrun, and Wessam Abu Ali, and sort of interchanging and going all over the place and disorganizing opponents with the ball.
If they're able to, or if they decide, to not pick up Ibrahim Aliu's contract option, they'll have 2 U22 initiative slots to use. Their DPs can't be bought down. Obviously, we just had the Daniel Gazdag discussion. That'll be to be determined. But at the bare minimum, they've got 2 U22, could have 2 U22 initiative slots to use.
And I was not joking about going out and buying Emeka Eneli. Like, he is the closest thing in terms of ball security that there is in MLS to what Darlington Nagby was. And he's a Columbus Academy product, which is amazing that they let him get away. Massive mistake on that one. And for whatever reason, he was kind of in and out of the lineup with RSL this year. So I think, like, honestly, if I was Issa Tall, my first phone call, tomorrow, I can assume he took today off, but like my first phone call would be to RSL to be like, okay, what can we do to get this done in a way that suits both teams? And RSL, like, look, man, if he's not a starter 100%, you got to listen.
I would agree. And yeah, if there is a hint that Emeka Eneli could be had, there should be a bidding war.
Let me ask you one more thing. If Wilfred Nancy leaves, is this a possible Jim Curtin team?
I don't think so immediately. Just based on what I've heard, that I'm not expecting him to take anything. Okay. Again, there was a call from Atlanta before they had, Ronnie. It was always going to be Tata when it landed there. But they tried him last summer, they tried him last winter, and they tried him this winter. And if you're not taking that, particularly last year, I think that reinforces all of the things that I've heard. So yeah, I don't know, but that would obviously be the biggest decision that Columbus would have to do if Wilfred Nancy leaves. For our selfish sake, I hope that he doesn't, and we'll see what is real and what's not. I'm hoping over the next few weeks in terms of potential openings abroad, Celtic or others. 2 more teams to get to. Seattle Sounders. Really good season, even if it's really disappointing right now how that they weren't able to take care of business against Minnesota for how well that they played. Moving forward for this team, they've got pretty much all of those pieces in place, save for the expected Obed Vargas sale. I was expecting Obed Vargas to be sold in the summer. I thought that there was going to be a $10 million offer there. That just never did arrive. The teams that really, really like him was in the Eredivisie, and they don't typically spend that much money on an MLS player. So I'm still expecting there to be a sale for Obed Vargas this winter, because he's so very good, or at least by next summer. But other than that, you would expect most of these guys to be back next season. Stefan Fry, I don't believe that there's been any announcements. I don't know for sure, but at his age, there's always going to be questions about whether he stays or not. But for the most part, this core is coming back.
I will guarantee that Andrew Thomas is the day one starter next year for Seattle. I think that what's going to happen is just a reversal of the roles, where Stefan Fry will get Leagues Cup, and Andrew Thomas will get everything else. Excuse me, the glare directly in my face as the clouds finally part. The other thing, they have Jordan Morris, who I think is probably still the starting number 9 going into next year. He's on a DP deal. They're not going to be able to move him. They have.
Do they want to move him?
I don't think it's out of the question.
Why would they want to move him?
He's in his 30s. He's not always that healthy.
Jesus.
He's a DP. But
Heartless.
they also have Danny Musovski, who just had a career year, and they have Asaze Di Rosario, who has proved, I think, that he can be, at the very least, a quality backup. They also have shown that they have a pipeline that puts quality players into the first team. Do you listen to offers on Musovski or Dero? Because it seems like, especially with Musovski, it's a sell high moment, right?
Musovski has a contract option for 26. I guess, but I like you talked about the worries about Jordan Morris and fitness and everything.
Yep.
I think you just run back with those three guys. And again, maybe somebody makes you a big offer, but you look at like Seattle had a lot of injuries this season.
Mm-hmm.
They were able to keep rolling because of their depth and optionality.
Yeah. They played, I think, 53 games. I think it was.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
They had, Pedro de la Vega he had about a month where it's like, oh my God, this is the $7 million player before he got injured. Obviously, Morris missed a lot of time. Rusnak missed some time during the season. Those are the three DPs. Reed Baker-Whiting is their only U22 initiative. He's not a starter at this point. Yeah. So they did all of this essentially with TAM players, and Rusnak was the most healthy the most healthy / productive out of the three DPs. So I don't know. I think that you just don't mess with that formula too much. They'll get a lot of international slots back. They only used 4 this year. They funded the Jesus Ferrer trade with international slots. So I'm curious to see what they're doing. They have a lot of GAM left over from 25, and I hope ownership gives some money. If a couple U22 initiative players wouldn't hurt. I know that's all depth, and they have a lot of good depth. Ryan Kent has a contract option for next year. He's a TAM player, so that could free up more space. Sorry, but they have some flexibility. But I think for me, it's more about run it back with the core and see what you can do around the edges. And again, particularly if Obed does go, big question in central midfield.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I would expect Steiner Brunel to be part of the answer in central midfield if Obed does go. I think Stuart Hawkins will get over 1,000 minutes next year. Like I'm pretty sure they think he's ready. But in all, it would be crazy, I think, to do anything but run 95% of this back.
And I'm assuming that they're going to, because they value continuity, and it's been very, very successful for them over the years. Lastly, Charlotte FC. So they lose. I still think that they had a really good year. They finished 4th in the East. That was really, really packed. Again, who knows what? Everybody has injuries, so this isn't just a Charlotte thing, but you wonder what might have happened if you had Pep Biel on the field. Pep Biel will be back next year as a designated player. Alongside Wilfried Zaha and Leo Abada. They're going to have a little bit of juggling to do. Leo Abada, you just can't bring him. You just can't bring him back. You have to. They have to find a solution there. He in this series, and particularly being able to watch it pitch side, he was matched up against Hannes Wolf, who does a shift defensively. He's not a lockdown fullback, center back, right? They kept on giving the ball, and he had no interest in trying to take him one-on-one. And that's a guy that they spent $6 million on for. You're not going to hit every single signing. You need to open that up. And whether that you stay with 2 DPs and it's Zaha and Biel and 4 U22 initiatives, I think Nikola Pekovic, that experiment has to be over. I was really excited when they signed him. He just hasn't broken through into the first team. That's a U22 slot. So that would give them flexibility to go for a 3rd DP or another U22 initiative. And again, that's talking about 2 departures.
Is Andrew Privet just penciled into the starting lineup for Adelson Malanda?
I think you can, but you need to sign a serious center back to compete and have cover and rotation for him and Tim Ream, because we don't know exactly what that partnership might look like without Malanda being one of the fulcrums. And Ream is obviously over, right? And you try to have as many good players as possible. It's the most obviously stupid thing to say, but Malanda was on a TAM deal. You're gonna get GAM or first transfer or whatever it'll end up being, but he was a TAM, like that will free up a slot. Eric Williamson's a TAM player, didn't really ever play, don't think he's gonna be back. Jabril Gianni, there's an option for him. I thought that there was good moments and some bad. Bill Tuiloma, there's an option for 26 as well. So they will have a lot of flexibility. Like if they want to add a max TAM center back, they can.
Do you get the sense that the addition of all these 30 somethings, right? Like building the team around Westwood, he's 36 now, making Zaha the face of your team. He's 32. Going out last year and getting Nathan Byrne on one side, going out this year and getting Harry Toffolo on the other side, bringing Tim Ream in. Like, these are all guys who fit a certain mold in terms of age and experience. Is that from Dean Smith or is that from Zoran Krneta?
Collaborative. What I guess that's a good question. I get they have a robust front office as well. Again, Zoran and Dean are obviously pivotal parts of these decisions. My immediate question would be, would you say any of those signings didn't work out?
I don't think any of them worked out in the way that they had hoped, right? Like,
Westwood has been really good for multiple
other
years.
Than Westwood, yeah. Other than Westwood,
I think Tim Ream has been good.
Second team. He's been pretty good. He also got annihilated in a playoff game, a decisive playoff game. They've scored 2 goals in 6 playoff games over the last 2 years. Having these types of profiles on the field on every line, I think it limits what you can do as a team from a tactical perspective. I think defaulting towards guys whose primary career experience is in England means you're going to play a certain type of way.
It's anti-British, just so casually.
Yeah, I think they play terrible soccer there. Yes, correct.
I'd push back on a lot of that because, again, like, if you go individual case by case, I don't think Toffolo was super good at the end of the season, but the Goss theorem, everything else, like, he was definitely carrying an injury. I know of that. Again, maybe he's not good, right? Like, maybe, but I'm still giving benefit of the doubt there. I think Tim Ream over 18 months has been, I wouldn't say good. That he's like, oh yeah, like, I think, and yeah, he made a bad decision and didn't go to the transition moment. Yeah, that was huge. I mean, show me a center back who hasn't had that moment, right? I think that distilling it down to that is unfair. Yeah, Zaha, I wish that we saw more from him, particularly in this series. But, like, Zaha, Bet Biel, Toklamati is the starting point for your attack next season. Baye Coulibaly got his feet wet with the second team, comes to the first team. That was a several $1 million signing in the U22 initiative. Toklamati, obviously, U22 initiative. Kerwin Vargas, U22 initiative. It's not just, like, players that are 30 and over from the UK that are making up this team, and maybe they do need to fine-tune the balance a little bit more. Again, if there's a third DP that comes, I would like to see it be an in-prime type of player, and they've chased those kind of guys. Calvin Stanks, that was a deal that they had, but he has a hole in his knee. And the doctors couldn't sign off on it. And by the way, he hasn't played all that much since that happened. Right. They tried for Doran Machis back in the day. He was an in-prime DP. Who's a Groenbeek, who ended up going to Rennes in France. That was like a 23-year-old. Like, they're very capable of doing that, and I hope that they do. But I don't think the balance is off that much. Is kind of my point.
Is there? No, I think the balance is off a lot. Come on, they started 6, 7 30-year-olds in a playoff game. Like, that's an imbalance in the way you have built your roster. And 6 of those guys are imports, or however you want to call it, from England. And they, like, after 2 years of this, and you've scored 2 goals in 6 games, you have to look with a critical eye. You have to say, okay, there's something between the game model and the roster build. There's something that is a little bit off right here, especially when you just gave up 3 goals that were down to, like, we got outrun. Our old guys could not keep up with guys in their prime in the open field.
I guess there is improvement necessary, absolutely. I just don't think that it's a whole thing.
And they're at the part of their age curve where they're not going to get better.
I get that. I just listed off 4 U22 initiative players or younger players that, again, Adilson Malanda was a younger player in this team. I know he's 24 now, like getting towards more so in prime before he's leaving for Borough this winter. But again, I just don't think that it was that far off. I agree that getting younger or a couple more in prime players will be very beneficial, particularly if it is a DP, because that is the highest leverage that they can use. But I don't know, I think Ashley Westwood should be the starter and a captain next year. And again, we can talk about it again if it's June and he looks like he really did lose a step. Same thing with Zaha. Same thing with Ream. And I get it.
What's a successful year for this team next year?
Got to win a playoff series and kind of cement yourself as Again, I would
That's
like
right.
to say I would like to say top.
Knicks fan stuff coming through here. If you win a playoff series, you hang a banner. That's the way it goes. Got it. All right.
So you're of the opinion that every single year, if you don't win a championship, it's a
Celtics
wasted
pride,
year.
baby. Celtics pride.
Except for now that you're trying to cope and pretend like
I'm
you know,
so
they lose, it's
pissed that we
actually good.
I'm so pissed we keep winning games, man. We're 4 and 5.
This is such an unbelievable
I need a
facade
25
of
game losing
fear
streak.
that you put in front of yourself because you're worried about how the season's going to go. So you're just going to take
It's
the
AJ
coward's way
DeBounce
out.
the season, my friend.
You're just going to be a coward. And I remember in the playoff run, there was a game where the Knicks were up big and you're like, I'm not even watching. I turned it off. And then talk shit when they came back. You can't have both. Coward. Bing bong. Knicks are going to win the title this year. I will see you there when it's June. We play June basketball. That is the heritage of this team. On that note, that's it for Soccer Wise today. Thank you all for hanging out, for the people who've been here. Thank you all for the people who are listening live. Thank you to Matt Doyle. Always read his stuff. Subscribe to his Substack. You will be smarter about MLS teams, and you will be entertained while you're doing it. So please do read that. Doyle, thank you for joining. Always a nice day.
Always a pleasure to talk to you, Tom. Always good to see the fine fans of Soccer Wise.
Thank you again to everybody who came out in Charlotte. It was a lot of fun. We love doing that stuff, so hopefully we'll be able to do that again in the future in your home city, whoever you are listening to this. We love it. We have a lot of fun, and we'll be back very, very soon.